Hi, everybody. Christy from the Zero Proof Life. I'm one of the coaches. And today we were going to just have a conversation about cravings in particular. And hopefully we'll stay on that topic as we tend to get in these conversations and we never know where they're going to go. So I'm here with Becca, who's another Zero Proof Life coach, and we're just going to talk a bit about cravings. Um, I wanted to just start by saying, just to kind of clarify sort of what a craving is, and I think you were going to elaborate on it, but I just wanted to say that a craving happens when we start to sort of fantasize about something. So we'll have an initial feeling in our body of kind of discomfort, and then our brain will attach, old thoughts and old patterns onto that feeling. And then the brain starts to fantasize. So if you can just imagine, say it's alcohol, you are in a situation, it's, 5 o'clock, it's the time of day in the past where you normally would pour yourself a drink and you start to feel the feeling. Your body knows, okay, it's 5 o'clock, your brain knows and your brain starts to tell a story. It's like, okay, where's our thing, right? Because the brain wants the dopamine hit. So where's the thing? If we could just have the thing, we would feel better. If we could just have the thing, then we'd be able to make dinner and like life, we would start to relax. Or whatever the story looks like, it's when that brain starts to fantasize about the thing. When the fantasy starts, that is when the true craving starts. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that to kind of start off the conversation. So Becca, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I love that. I love that explanation. And also, I think it's important to remember that many times we mistake a craving for a discomfort, and that's not to downplay what you are feeling and what your body is telling you, and what your brain is telling you, and what your emotions are telling you. But truthfully, like a craving is a habit. It's a, I've always done it this way, so I'm always going to do it this way. And that's when we start to notice like that discomfort in the body that you're talking about and the story that we attach to it. And I think it's such an important conversation to have too, because we give so much power to the craving. You know
Mhm,
what I mean? Like we give it so much life, the fantasy
mhm.
that you're talking about.
We do. And we allow our brains to do this stuff. It's so funny what we allow our brains to do on a daily basis when it gets on that hamster wheel or that broken record. And I think I heard somewhere that like we have like 10,000 thoughts a day or something, and like 90% of them are like the same thoughts we had yesterday. So it's
Mhm.
really not that interesting. It's really, when our brain gets going, it's just recycled stuff from the day before, and it's not interesting. And we allow it to happen. We allow it to keep going without, like, as if we have no control over it, like you said.
Yeah.
Um, and it's when we start to get in the battle with it, is that willpower, right? It's that like, I'm going to fight this and I'm going to just white knuckle and hold on and I'm going to, resist this feeling. It's really a resistance that will quickly wear down. It will wear us down, it will wear out. It's like a muscle and we can't, it's like we're hanging from something and after a while you're going to have to let go because you can't hold on any longer. And unfortunately, when we're using that technique and when we finally let go is when we give in to the thing.
Yeah.
And so let's kind of just talk about like what are some tactics or techniques we can use instead of holding on for dear life or white knuckling.
It reminds me of when my children were little and they would pitch a fit and
Mhm.
just be in the room having their temper tantrum. And I'm like, when you're done, come on out. And they would never come out because they would eventually fall asleep because it was, they would just eventually forget or just get so tired they would fall asleep on the floor
Mhm.
by the door that they were kicking
Mhm.
to get their way. And I always thought of my cravings of that in that capacity because I mean, ultimately, it kind of is. It's almost like our habits that we've created are trying to bully our future self.
Mhm.
into our impulse self is a better word, is trying to bully our future self by, that craving. One of the things that I did that I learned, and you'll hear this a lot in this alcohol-free communities and stuff, is like surfing the urge.
Mhm.
And I would purposefully walk down the beer aisle in the grocery store to just allow myself to notice, like, what are the thoughts? What's my discomfort? Where am I feeling it in my body? What am I
Mhm.
telling myself about this experience? And just to try to notice, what my thoughts were around it, because I didn't even know. Like I would, oh, got a craving. There we go. Like I
Mhm.
never even gave myself a chance to notice what was actually going on in my so-called temper
Mhm.
tantrum, my
Yes.
craving. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. And what you're describing is like allowing ourselves to have mindfulness around it and actually pay attention to the feelings in our body and to what our brain is saying and just kind of be that observer rather than allowing ourselves to be all up in it. And we talk a lot in our coaching on the Zero Proof Life about mindfulness and ways to do that and how to surf the urge and all of that. And it really is such a beautiful process when we can learn to allow ourselves to do it because we know from a neuroscience perspective that that is how the brain is going to rewire and change. The
Yeah.
brain will not rewire if we're working on willpower.
Yes.
And so we know that. And, occasionally you might have to use a little willpower, and that's perfectly okay. There's no shame or anything with that because we all have to use it occasionally when we're just kind of worn out and can't think straight. But when you can allow yourself, like you said, to even do experiments like you did, like walk down that aisle, which is a pretty brave experiment. That's awesome. And just allow ourselves to feel those feelings. And there are a lot of, techniques to use. There's the mindful drinking technique too, where if you do decide to have a drink, can you do it in a mindful way where you're actually paying attention and writing things out as you're doing it. There's been a lot of great research on that. Another favorite in ZPL that we teach a lot around is tapping. I'm a huge fan of the EFT tapping. And all the studies that have been done show that it reduces cravings by 73%, which is unlike anything else out there. Hands down, it's probably the number one tool to use. And so that's a beautiful thing to do as well. Can you think of any other
One of my
tips?
favorite things that you say actually is if it's in the evening, just put yourself to bed.
Yeah.
One of my
When
favorite things,
all else fails,
put yourself to bed.
yes, go to bed. And it's so funny. Like you were talking about the temper tantrums with your kids and they fall asleep, but how we all, as humans, we resist going to sleep. We resist when we're tired, right? And so for some reason, we have learned over time to like, oh, you're feeling exhausted or tired. We're going to push through that bad boy. We're going to like have a drink and we're going to watch some Netflix and like why do we do that to ourselves? It's so funny because a lot of times we're just exhausted. And so
Yes.
that becomes a trigger or a signal to pour the glass of wine or grab the beer or stay up later like death scrolling, right, where you're just scrolling and you're so exhausted.
Yeah.
So I love to say that you're right, like when all else fails and you're just like in it and you just are like feeling like you're just going to jump out of your skin, have a cup of hot tea, get your PJs on and put yourself to bed. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's 7:30 p.m
Mhm.
because you might just need to do that for a little while at the
I
beginning. So,
love to go to bed early. You do not have to tell me twice. Now, especially, I
mhm,
feel like I'm getting away with something if I get in the bed that early. I love it.
mhm,
And
yes,
remember that it's in those times where we resist what we need is when that willpower fatigue kicks in and
mhm,
we made so many decisions where that we just give in. And so, again, it is okay to use willpower. It is okay to whiten what we call white knuckling,
Mhm.
as long as you need to. But at some point, we have to give ourselves some relief. And so if we can't choose something that is going to be more beneficial to future self, then we're always going to give in to that
Mhm.
craving.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I know this because I did many times. So,
Yeah.
I've given into that craving and just this operation. It's learning how to
Mhm.
just live in this little hum of low
Mhm.
grade gratitude at all times, and finding your
Mhm.
way. So,
Yeah. Some other quick things, tips, splash your face with cold water, put your face in a bucket of ice water.
oh,
Even putting your arm in some ice water,
mhm,
can reset that nervous system and kind of snap us out of whatever it is we're in. Getting outside, go for a walk around the block.
yes,
Even if you do that before you have the drink, that's better than just giving into the drink right away. Go for a walk, drink a huge glass of water, just guzzle it down because that puts your body back into that rest and digest mode too. So there are a lot of things, and you can kind of make a little list for yourself on what are three things I can do before I give in to a craving,
yeah.
and just three little things and just try it. That's,
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt just to
I
try.
call them I call them my safety anchors. Like, what are my safety
Mm,
anchors, and what am I going to pull out right
mhm,
now to use to kind of ground myself into what it is I'm actually trying to learn in this moment.
mhm,
Um, Man, but there were so many times I was like, get about this. I don't want to learn
mhm,
anything, and that's when I'm like going to bed, going to shower,
mhm.
I'm going to put on my comfortable pajamas, which are a
Yeah.
huge safety anchor for me.
Mhm,
Blankets that I invested in that I'm like, I want some good. I'm like, if this is going to be one of my things. And it's like, one of the other things that I did a lot is I had this imaginary like superhero cape, and I was like, yep, it's time
mhm.
to pull it out. And I put it on myself in my brain and like just imagination. I'm like, it's time to pull out the big guns, and which for me was going to bed. But
Mhm,
whatever that is for you, cravings
mhm,
are real though. I don't want to discount like that it's not a real thing, but it's more than just like I want to drink.
mhm,
It's call to action almost of what do I
mhm.
really need?
Yeah. It's a check engine light, right? I mean, it's that flashing, like, something needs attention, and my brain is interpreting as we have the solution. We're going to have a drink.
Yeah.
But really, our body, that is not what our body's ever asking us for. That's what our brain wants to complete the cycle for the brain, right? But our bodies, it's really just like, hello, there's something in here that needs you. Whether it's I'm hungry, I haven't had like good protein all day, or I'm really dehydrated, or we just need to go to bed, right? We
Yeah.
need rest. So it's really just a signal. And if we can look at it as it's not something that's out to get us, but it's just like our body is just really asking us to, pay attention for a minute and not just go to those old behaviors automatically.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it does feel really real in the moment. It can feel really hard and really real and really daunting.
Yeah.
um, but again, like everything else, the more we practice it, the easier it gets
Yeah.
over time. And then our brains start to rewire in a different way. So awesome. This is such a good topic. And I know we could go on and on for an hour about this, but I hope this was helpful for you all just to kind of scratch the surface on cravings and what they mean or may not mean. And it's been great. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, visit our website. And if you have any comments, questions, please feel free to let us know. Any topics you would like to hear one of us coaches talk about, we're happy to do that. So thanks for joining us, everybody.
Bye, y'all.